Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are having an amazing start to the new week. I am your Al Sports Alpha Leonardo Velasquez, and in today's video, we are going to be giving our reactions to the first round for both the ATP and WTA side of the Australian Open tournament, which just started on Sunday. Technically, it started here on Saturday, but since of the time difference, it started on Sunday over there in Australia. But now that the first round is concluded and the second round is about to start in about 20-30 minutes, I figured it's the perfect time to make this video and give our reactions on who we thought performed well and who I thought can definitely make a good run based off of their first round performance in the tournament. So my first takeaway is I think overall Sinner looked very good. I think his match ending early due to an injury from Hugo Gaston, I think that just makes his, energy levels a little bit better going into the next match and especially going deeper into the tournament. And then Alcaraz, he put on a great performance too, practically flawless. Didn't drop a set. Same with Novak Djokovic, he didn't lose a set in his first match. Considering that last year he did lose one set in the first few of his matches, I think this is a good sign that he really wants to conserve his energy for the later rounds because obviously the deeper you go into the tournament, there's going to be more difficult matches. And at this stage of his career, I know conserving his energy is one of the key priorities if he wants to really have a good shot at winning the 25th Grand Slam. Other notable wins were, I would say, Medvedev. He finally got off to a good start this year in his Grand Slam campaign, got his first win in straight sets. I think that's much needed after we reflected on how, him winning in Brisbane is good confidence going into the Australian Open. And now seeing him getting a good win, especially, there are a few bumps into the match, that really, the match really could have gone to a fourth set if he really didn't, tighten up those little screws that really need to be tightened. And next thing you know, he won that last tiebreak to seal the victory. So I think those small little adjustments that you have to make in the middle of a match will only help your performances going on later in the tournament. So that's a good win from Medvedev. Tommy Paul had a straight sets performance, very flawless. I think he looks healthy again. He wants, I can tell he loves playing in Australia. He made semifinals in 2023 and he was playing extremely well last year in 2025. So we can expect Tommy Paul to make a decent run. Also, another impressive victory I would say was Jacob Menchik. I think his match went to 5 sets, but he was on the verge of losing in the fourth set, and it went to a tiebreak, and he was able to win it with his clutch serving. His powerful first serves are what really got him through that fourth set tiebreak, and then he was able to break early in the fifth set and take away a little bit of rhythm from Carreno Busta. Next thing you know, Busta broke back, but then he started dealing with a little bit of an injury, and next thing you know, Menchik was just able to pull away. But I think getting those scrappy, tough wins, especially early on in the tournament, can really help your mentality, especially for a young player like Menchik. It can definitely help him going, through all these different matches in the tournament. Other notable wins, I would say, I think Tiafoe, he had a great win. We can hopefully expect him to make a good run because he did make a good hard court run towards the end of the 2024 season in the U.S. hard court swing. So I would say, he's definitely a player to possibly look out for, but I don't think, it's just, a lot of players, they depend on, conditioning, what their draw is. I think those things matter. Taylor Fritz, he's been dealing with a knee injury, but he was able to get a good gutsy performance, a good gutsy win. So I think that's a positive sign for him to see if he can build on that and, try to show that he's in shape and in good condition to compete. And I would say another good performance, I would say, came from Karen Khachanov. He had a good 5 set victory against Alex Michelsen. It was a very close match, and considering that Michelsen did beat Khachanov last year at the Australian Open in straight sets, I think Khachanov definitely wanted to avenge that loss he had a year ago, and he definitely did in great fashion. So I think, when you get that early match that goes to 5 sets, I think that just helps you mentally and it allows you to really feel confident about yourself going into the tournament. So I would say those are the notable victories for me. And I think it seems like, I'm not surprised with on the ATP side, these types of players who, got first round wins that were very noticeable as we can expect them to make it deep. Also, Zverev, he got off to a slow start in the first set. He lost the first set, but then he was able to turn things around and win the next three and win 3-1. Ben Shelton, he also had a great performance. He won in straight in straight sets against Ugo Humbert. I think that's great considering that he was dealing with a slight injury towards the end of the season last year. But having a good straight sets victory against a young, good player like Ugo Humbert, who actually did perform pretty well in the Australian Open last year, he was a threat against Zverev, but he did fall to Zverev in their match, but he did take a set from him. So I think with Ben Shelton utilizing his powerful first serve and firing a lot of aces, that can definitely help him, give him a good chance of making a good deep run in that tournament. So that's really in terms of the ATP side. Those are my reactions from the men's side, and I think most of those players will definitely have a good chance of making it deep. And we will just have to see how the draw plays out and who how they perform as these next few matches go by. It is only the first round, so a lot of things can change from round 2 to round 3, but we just got to keep our eye on things. So that is our takeaway for the ATP side of the first round for the Australian Open, and now we will transition to the WTA side. So we'll start off with Aryna Sabalenka. It seemed like she was dealing with a little bit of nerves in the first set in her match. I think it was mainly because she had Roger Federer and Rod Laver playing in front of her. So I think after she was able to get that first set win, and then she's just started, playing like normal in the second set, was able to just really play her style, utilize her powerful shots from the baseline, and then just finish the match in good fashion. So I think that's something that she wanted to get off to a good start, especially in front of legends of the sport like Federer and Rod Laver. And other notable performances, I would say Elena Rybakina. She had a very good start to her campaign. She got a straight sets victory. She looked like she fixed a little bit of those little bit of minor problems that she was dealing in Brisbane. I think that little bit of break that she had in between Brisbane and now the Australian Open will definitely kind of help rejuvenate, kind of you know recuperate a little bit of energy. That's what I'm trying to say. And another notable win, I would say Amanda Anisimova. She had a great win, straight sets victory. Jessica Pegula, a good straight sets victory. I know I mentioned Pegula in our last video mainly because she hasn't made a true deep run in Australia, so we'll see if she can turn that around this year. Coco Gauff, she had an impressive win. I think that's the type of win that you want to get. It did get off a little bit slow in the first set, but then she was able to settle down and then really just work her way through the match. And I think it doesn't matter really how you win, but as long as you learn from that, from what you did in the match, and then you can reflect on it and try to fix those little minor errors going into the next match. Madison Keys, she struggled early in the first set. She was down, I believe, 5-2, but she was able to climb her way back, get the double breaks back, and win in the first set tiebreak, and eventually go on to win in straight sets. A good gutsy win from her on her part. She is the defending champion, so we'll see what she can do in this year's Australian Open. Uh, Alexandra Iala, she was upset in the first round. So that's something to keep an eye on. Her campaign ended early. I know she has a huge fan base representing the Philippines, but we'll see if she can just, now she's going to have to wait a few months for Roland Garros to come where she can really utilize her clay skills, is because really that's where she really made her name, I think, last season. But it was mostly in Miami as well. I think that's where a lot of people saw the potential in her after she put on some amazing performances in Miami. She had that long battle against Jessica Pegula. So I think, you know, it's just something to work towards too. You got to learn from these experiences, and we'll see if she can turn that around. Uh, Iva Jovic, she had a great performance, very athletic, very good ball striking. I think she was also able to get to certain balls that were hit to the opposite side of the court, and she was able to like chip it into the air and make it difficult for her opponent to return the ball. So I think I was very impressed overall with her conditioning and the way she moves around the court, her court coverage, and how powerful she's able to hit the ball at such a young age. She's only 18 years old, so I think the future is bright for her for sure. Uh, Marta Kostyuk, unfortunately, she lost her first round match. It was a long battle. It was over 3 hours long. It was like about, I think it was like 3 hours and a half, 3 hours 40 minutes. She sustained an injury after she rolled her ankle in the third set, and I think that's what really took a lot of momentum away from her. Considering that after she got back on the court, after she received her medical timeout, her ball striking, her power just diminished a lot. It was very hot. It seemed like both players, her opponent and her, were struggling with the heat. You could see how sweaty they were faces were turning red. The humidity can definitely get to the players sometimes. And the Australian Open is known for being very physically demanding, considering how, medium fast hard court, the ball doesn't bounce too high, but the ball does move fast. It can get really hot there, so playing in the early hours of the day can definitely be a little bit tricky. Sometimes the sun can be in your face. It can make it difficult for players to serve. So there are definitely some adjustments that I think that made it difficult moments in the day that made it difficult for Marta Kostyuk to really find a way to win. But we'll see if she can recuperate after that slight little injury she had and come back stronger for the clay season, or maybe hopefully she can come back sooner. So we'll see what happens with her. And I would say another notable victory in the first round. I would say Belinda Bencic. She also had an amazing win last night. I would say that she showed her composure. Still, she's serving well. The second set was close against Katie Bolter, but she was able to really like tighten up and really utilize her great serving and also her good returning skills. I think that's what really came down to in the end, showing her versatility, especially starting off the season very well, keeping up that good rhythm. So I believe Belinda Bencic will be one of those players that people will look out for. Paula Badosa, she was able to, get off to a good start in this Australian Open. She got a great win in straight sets. It's good to see her back after she was dealing with some back injuries, uh, you know, majority of the season last year. So it's very good to see a player who's now considered to be, I would say, an experienced veteran player on tour. She's been around for a while, and she did make semifinals in Australia last year. So we'll see if she can, replicate that performance. She's still hitting the ball well. She does have that good court coverage. So we'll see what she can do. And overall, I would say those are the most notable performances for me. Also, Mira Andreeva, she had a great victory. She won in 3 sets, 2-1 against Donna Vekic. I think, like I said, when you have a match that really pushes you a little bit in the first round, I think that can kind of get rid of those nerves going into the tournament. And then after that first round, you kind of just like play a little more free because you say mentally, oh, I already played a tough match. And then next thing you know, you kind of know how you can utilize your movement around the court, your ball striking, whatever it may be. It allows you to really, get rid of those nerves and make those adjustments going into the second and third round if players make it that far. So overall, those are my reactions to the first round. Those are the players that really caught my attention. So those are players I will definitely keep an eye on. It's definitely, the Australian Open. We're almost midweek through, like halfway through the first week already. So we'll definitely see how these players continue to perform, and we'll make another video very soon about our reactions to the second round. And then towards, I would say, the round of 16, the quarterfinals, we will try to do some live commentary for some of the good matches because I want to get some live commentary done on this channel for you guys and just something for you guys to look back on, because I know like as time goes by, I want to be able to like, commentate some games since it's something that I aspire to do one day professionally. So overall, those are my reactions to the first round of the Australian Open. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys like this video, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Take it easy.